Hollywood, 1947. A producer's office on the RKO lot. Mahogany desk, gold awards on the shelf, cigarette smoke thick in the air. A man sits across from one of the most powerful executives in the film business. He is young, big, broad shoulders, heavy eyelids that make him look half asleep even when he isn't. He picks up the contract on the desk. He reads the one condition written into the final clause. He sets it back down. Then he tears it in half, stands up, walks out. No argument. No negotiation. No apology. The producer stares at the two pieces of paper on his desk and cannot believe what just happened. Nobody walks out on RKO. Nobody walks out on Howard Hughes. Nobody, except Robert Mitchum. How does a man who grew up homeless, who escaped a chain gang with scars on his legs, who had nothing, how does that man become the only person in Hollywood history who could tear up a contract and walk away without blinking? Let's find out. Hollywood, 1947. The studio system is at its peak. The major lots, MGM, Paramount, Warner Brothers, RKO, own everything. They own the theaters, they own the cameras, they own the directors, and most importantly, they own the actors. A standard studio contract means the studio controls what films you make, what roles you play, how you dress, what you say in public, and who you are seen with on weekends. Break the rules and they suspend you. Fight back and they blacklist you. The studio is God, the contract is the Bible, and nobody questions either one. Nobody except one man. But to understand why Mitchum could tear that contract in half without flinching, you have to go back. Way back. Not to Hollywood, not to a movie set. To a freight train in the middle of nowhere. To a teenage boy with no money, no food, and nowhere to go. Let me tell you. Robert Charles Derman Mitchum is born on August 6, 1917 in Bridgeport, Connecticut. His father works for the railroad. When Robert is 2 years old, his father is crushed to death between two rail cars in a work accident. Just like that, gone. His mother tries to hold the family together. She cannot. The Great Depression hits, money disappears. Robert is a difficult child. Restless, angry, impossible to control. By the time he is 14 years old, he is already gone, running, riding freight trains, moving from state to state with nothing but the clothes on his back. He is not a romantic drifter. He is a hungry kid surviving. He picks fruit in California. He digs ditches in the South. He fights in back alley brawls when he has to. He goes days without eating. Then, at 16, in Savannah, Georgia, the police pick him up. Vagrancy. The charge is simple. He exists and has no money. The sentence is brutal. A chain gang. Hard labor under the Georgia sun. Guards with rifles, shackles on his ankles. He spends weeks on that chain gang, digging, breaking rock, being told when to eat, when to sleep, when to speak. Then one night he simply walks away, into the dark, into the swamps. He escapes. He carries the scars on his legs for the rest of his life. By the time he is 18, he has worked 27 professional boxing matches, getting knocked down, getting back up, getting his nose broken and fighting anyway. He has been arrested. He has starved. He has slept on the ground. He has looked men in the eye who had total power over him and survived. When you come from that, a Hollywood producer in a suit holding a piece of paper is not frightening. Not even a little. By the early 1942, Mitchum has settled down slightly. He works at a machine parts factory in Delaware. Same motion, same lever, same hours, every single day. The monotony is its own kind of prison. He has a nervous breakdown from sheer boredom. His sister suggests he come visit her in Long Beach, California. She is involved with a local theater group, the Long Beach Players Guild. She thinks it will clear his head. He goes, mostly just to have something different to stare at. He has no acting training. He does not know what the method is. He has never studied Stanislavski. He just stands on a stage and says the words and something happens. The audience goes very quiet. The directors look at each other. There is something about this man. The heavy-lidded eyes that look dangerous and bored at the same time. The massive chest, the absolute stillness. He does not perform. He simply inhabits, like a predator that doesn't need to move to make you nervous. Within 2 years, RKO Pictures signs him. Within 3 years, he is one of the most talked about young actors in Hollywood. And within 4 years, he is sitting across from a producer who has just made a very serious mistake. The year is 1947. RKO is now controlled by Howard Hughes, eccentric, obsessive, one of the most powerful men in America. Hughes has a vision for Mitchum. He sees the brooding energy, the dangerous magnetism. He wants to package it, market it, and own it completely. The contract is substantial. Good money, major pictures, a real path to the top of the Hollywood hierarchy. Any young actor in 1947 would sign it without reading a single word. But there is one condition buried in the final clause. The condition says that Robert Mitchum must publicly endorse the political positions of the studio's preferred candidates during the upcoming election season. He must appear at events. He must give his name and face to causes he did not choose, did not believe in, and did not care about. In other words, you will not just act for us. You will think for us. You will speak for us. You will be what we tell you to be, not just on screen but in the world. Mitchum reads this clause. He reads it once. He sets the contract on the mahogany desk. He looks at the producer across from him with those heavy, unbothered eyes, and he tears it in half, clean down the middle, 2 pieces. He stands up, he buttons his jacket, he walks to the door. The producer finds his voice. "You're making the biggest mistake of your career." Mitchum stops at the door. He turns slightly. "I don't make mistakes," he says quietly. "I make decisions." He walks out into the California sunlight. The door closes behind him. Here is what every person in Hollywood said would happen next. They said Mitchum was finished. You do not tear up a Howard Hughes contract. You do not walk out on RKO. There are 50 men who want your role. There are 50 men who will sign that paper without reading it. You are replaceable. You are nothing. You are a factory kid from the wrong side of America, and you just destroyed the only good thing that ever happened to you. That is what they said. Here is what actually happened. Within 6 months, every other major studio in Hollywood was calling, because word travels fast, and the word was, this man cannot be bought. This man cannot be controlled. This man is exactly what audiences want. They didn't want a puppet. They wanted a man, a real one, and there he was. But wait, the story is not over, because Hollywood was not done trying. September 1, 1948, a house in Laurel Canyon, a party, a police raid. Robert Mitchum is arrested for possession of marijuana. In 1948, this is not a minor headline. This is a career-ending scandal. The word goes out within hours. Mitchum is finished, immoral, criminal. No studio will touch him. No audience will forgive him. Studio executives call emergency meetings. Publicists prepare damage control statements. Everyone waits for Mitchum to panic, to beg, to release the tearful public apology that will save what is left of his reputation. A reporter finds him in his cell at the Los Angeles County Jail. The reporter looks through the bars. Mitchum is in a gray prison uniform. He is sweeping the floor. He does not look panicked. He does not look ashamed. He looks the way he always looks, utterly, completely unbothered. "What's it like in there?" the reporter calls out. Mitchum stops sweeping. He looks up with those sleepy eyes. "It's just like Palm Springs," he says. "Only the pool is smaller." He serves his time, 50 days. He treats the guards like old friends. He reads books. He writes poetry, because Robert Mitchum writes poetry, and nobody knows this, and he does not care whether they know or not. He comes out the other side exactly the same man who went in. No apology, no statement, no performance of remorse for people he does not respect. And the lines at the box office, they wrap around the block. 1955. Charles Lawton directs a film called The Night of the Hunter. It will become one of the most haunting, visually extraordinary films in American cinema history. Mitchum plays Reverend Harry Powell, a fake preacher, a serial killer. A man who has love tattooed on the knuckles of his right hand and hate tattooed on the knuckles of his left. He sings hymns while stalking children through the dark. He smiles while he lies. He is charming and terrifying in the same breath. It is one of the greatest villain performances in the history of film. Here is the thing. He is not inventing this darkness. He is not researching it in some acting workshop. He has seen real darkness. Real men with real power who treated other human beings like property. Guards with rifles on a Georgia chain gang, bosses in factories, producers in mahogany offices with conditions and contracts. He knows exactly what corruption looks like when it wears a smile. He has looked it in the eye his entire life. He just puts it on screen. But wait, here is where it gets even more incredible. Directors who worked with Robert Mitchum have a specific memory of him. They remember the chaos before he arrived, the stress, the nerves, because Mitchum had a reputation for not memorizing his lines, for showing up with no preparation, for walking onto set 5 minutes before the camera rolled, script in hand, reading it once. Directors would brace for disaster. Then the camera rolled, and Mitchum delivered the scene perfectly. One take, flawless, every line, every pause, every breath exactly where it needed to be, like a man who had been rehearsing for weeks, except he had been rehearsing for nothing. He simply knew. He would finish the scene, shrug, walk off set, light a cigarette. Two kinds of acting, Mitchum once said to a journalist who asked about his method, with a horse and without. That is the quote. That is the entire philosophy. He refused to make it complicated. He refused to make it precious. He refused to perform the act of being an artist. He just was one. Effortlessly, infuriatingly, perfectly. True competence does not announce itself. It just works. The decades pass. The films pile up. Over 110 of them. 1,962. Cape Fear. He plays Max Cady, a man just released from prison who has come back to destroy the lawyer who put him there. The performance is so genuinely menacing that the film is banned in several countries. Gregory Peck, one of Hollywood's most respected actors, is in the same film. Mitchum makes him look nervous. 1,973. The Friends of Eddie Coyle. No glamour, no heroics. A tired, aging, small-time criminal trying to survive in a world that has no loyalty and no mercy. Critics call it one of the most honest crime performances ever committed to film. Mitchum calls it a good week's work. The younger generation watches. Clint Eastwood watches. Robert De Niro watches. They are looking at the blueprint. The man who proved you could own every scene without appearing to try. The man who understood that stillness is more powerful than movement. That silence hits harder than speech. They learn from him. But none of them can quite copy what he is, because what he is cannot be taught in a classroom. It has to be earned on the road, on the chain gang, in the jail cell, at the producer's desk with a torn contract on the floor. July 1, 1997. Santa Barbara, California. Robert Mitchum dies of lung cancer and emphysema. He is 79 years old. He does not die surrounded by publicists managing his image. He does not give a final interview designed to cement his legacy. He does not write a memoir explaining himself. He just stops, the same way he did everything else, quietly, on his own terms, without making a production of it. Hollywood pauses for a moment. Then the industry realizes something. The last one is gone. The last man who came from nothing, survived everything, and refused to be owned by anyone. The last genuine wild animal in a business that had spent 50 years trying to tame him, and never once succeeded. 112 films, 5 decades of work, 0 apologies. He is the blueprint for every anti-hero who came after. Every cool, dangerous, unbothered man on screen owes something to Robert Mitchum. The cigarette at the corner of the lip, the eyes that are half closed but miss nothing, the absolute refusal to flinch. And that moment in the producer's office in 1947, that quiet, unhurried tear down the middle of a contract, that moment is the whole story. Because it was not an act of rebellion, it was not a tantrum, it was not a performance for anyone watching. It was simply a man who knew exactly who he was and who understood that no amount of money changes that. Stop performing for people who don't matter. Stop shrinking yourself to fit inside someone else's contract. Stop apologizing for the version of you that the world finds inconvenient. Robert Mitchum grew up with nothing. He survived things that would have broken most people permanently. And what he learned on those roads, on that chain gang, in those jail cells, it was this. The only thing no one can take from you is who you actually are. Not your name, not your money, not your career, your character. The thing underneath all of it. The thing that either holds when tested or doesn't. Mitchum's held, every single time. For 79 years. Build a frame that strong, and let the world figure out the rest. Pass it on. A black and white photograph, taken sometime in the early 1950 seconds. Robert Mitchum stands against a white wall in a dark suit, no tie, collar open. A cigarette hangs from the corner of his mouth without being held. His arms are loose at his sides. His eyes are half closed and aimed directly at the camera with an expression that contains nothing, no vanity, no performance, no request for approval. He is simply there, completely, immovably, unapologetically there. The world belongs to those who don't ask for permission. Authenticity is everything. If this story hit you the way it should, subscribe. Share it with someone who needs to remember that talent without backbone is just talent. Like the video, hit the notification bell, and drop a comment below. Have you ever been handed a contract with a condition that asked you to be someone you weren't? What did you do? We'll read everyone.